Hello everyone, this is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Sorry about the little snafu there. I haven't been live for so long that I thought I didn't have you guys. So welcome everyone. I can see everyone coming on. I'm just going to give it a few seconds. So I have my tea all ready for afternoon tea time and a card. What are you guys drinking as you watch me? I'm sure you all have a drink right by you. So I missed you guys. As most of you know, my husband passed away. So I took a little bit of time off and now I'm ready to get back to stamping because I know that's what he would want. Today I'm going to be using the Hats Off bundle, which includes the hat builder dies. I'm going to use quite a few of these dies here. I'm going to be making 2 cards with you today. So let me see, I'm going to start out with just a regular card fold, and then I have a special card fold for my second card. So for my first card, this is what I'm going to be creating. Now I need to tell you guys, I created both of these cards quite a while ago, and it's kind of funny because my husband wears baseball hats like every day. He never goes anywhere without his baseball hat. So these 2 cards are going to be dedicated to him today. I thought of him when I made these. So the card base is Pool Party, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and fold that. And just to warn you, I haven't stamped in so long, I might be a little rusty. Now I have a scrap piece for the hat. That's Old Olive. I have Bumblebee for this little piece right here. And then I have the piece for the banner, which measures 1 1/2 by 5. A little piece for the sentiment, and that is 3/4 of an inch wide. I'm going to trim that. And then this piece is going to be embossed 4 1/4 by 3. Now I'm going to bring this up so you can see the embossing. Hopefully you can see that. A little bunch of polka dots. And that comes from the checks and dots embossing folders. So I used this one on the card that I just showed you. I'm going to use the other one today, which is like a check pattern. And those come in a set of 2. And let me see what else I got. Versamark ink, Pacific Point ink. I've got my little mini cutting machine, die cutting. You know what? I don't even remember what it's called. And white embossing powder. And I think that's it. So we can get started on card number 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is emboss this panel. So I'm going to bring my mini in. Whoops. And like I said, I'm going to use the checkerboard one this time. So I'm just going to stick that in there. I'm so glad to see you guys all here. I missed you guys. Now, let me see if I get this right. I probably don't even remember how to do my pad. This is too thick. I think I just need 1. I can't even remember. Let me try this. You know what? I think I have 1 missing. That's my problem. Hold on. I grabbed the wrong one. That's why. You guys are going to have to help me with the sandwich. Which one do I need? Embossing folder. This one. I should have gone back to see how long it's been since I've stamped because it's just been so long. Let's see if I can get it right this time. I still get it wrong. What do I need on this one? Embossing folders, hinge first, 1 and 3. Oh, that's why. I was using a clear plate and it's 1 and 3. There we go. That's a little bit more tighter. That's what I needed. Now, let me set that aside. I'm going to show you what this one looks like. So this is what this one looks like. You can use either side. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that to the card front with dimensionals. So again, those 2 embossing folders, it comes in a set of 2, so it's pretty neat. And if you don't have the mini machine, it fits in the large one also, so you can use either one. So let me go ahead. Whoops, these are hard to peel for some reason. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be watching later because you're working. So hello to those of you that join later. Okay, so there's the difference between the two embossing folders. Kind of neat. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring in the little piece for the banner. And I'm pretty much using all of the images that have a little scenery type thing going on them. And I'm using the one with the sun is actually being used on both. And I'm going to do Pacific Point ink on the Pacific Point cardstock. I'm just going to use each one of these once. And I'm kind of just doing a little background with them. I'm just alternating. This one is a little rocket ship. Make sure it's flying up. Let's see, we'll do that one there. This has the number 1 on it. And this one has a little banner on it. Okay, so there's my little background. Now I'm going to bring in my scissors and do a banner. Now, I'm not using a punch to do it this time. I'm just going to use my paper snips. I'm going to go up to the middle about a 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to go corner up to the snip. Very easy. And then we're going to glue that in place on the card front. And I kind of set it at an angle like that. So there's the base of the card all ready to go. Now let's go ahead and do the hat. I'm going to bring the Pacific Point ink back in. Now this one, I do the stamping first, because if you look closely at the hat, you're going to notice that there's some stitch lines on there, and you also need to line up the hat to cut that correctly. Now let's see if I can grab the right cutting plates this time. This is the die cutting one. And I need to grab my hat. So as you can see, there's a lot of stitch lines around the cap part and then up here. I'm going to put that through. I'm going to use a piece of washi tape. And you kind of have to look at all of the outside edges and make sure that you can see all the ink lines. I'm going to use the washi tape. And I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to go ahead and run that through. These hats are so cute. Look how cute that is. Now we're going to do the little label shapes. I'm going to keep this right here. And it's the stamp with the little sunshine on it. Now that one has 2 dies that go with it. You've got the outside frame and then you got the stitching. So what I do is line up the outside frame image first. I'm going to use washi tape again. It's so hard to remember how I did these because this was over a month ago that I made these cards and I couldn't go live. Now when you line up this one, you have to make sure there's a little space in between because the stitch lines go on the inside of the stamped image. Okay. Okay, let me see if I can bring that, whoops, see if I can bring that up so you guys can see the stitch lines around that whole frame. Now all we need to do is glue these in place, and I did glue the hat with dimensionals. And then I'm going to glue the little label shape onto the hat. Okay, let me bring my card back in. So that goes about there. Now I'm going to add the little label. So you can build your own hat. It's so neat how these work well together. Now when you're putting this on, make sure you don't center it on your hat because you're actually centering it with these 2 portions, not the whole thing. So I kind of just paid attention to the spacing here and here to make sure it was lined up in the middle. Now the last part is going to be the sentiment, which I white embossed. So I'm going to bring in a used bounce dryer sheet just to take off the static. And we're going to have to do the white powder, Versamark ink, and that stamps clear like a watermark. You can use it this way if you want to and let it dry, but I'm opting to do the white because I want it to show up really nice. And now I'm going to, whoops, hold on. I blew a little too hard on that. I can see some of it came off. Now I'm going to bring in the heating tool. So I'm going to heat that up. Now I do have a little piece that I can see. I usually keep a paintbrush right here, but I don't see it. I just need to wipe that off. And it's only going to take me a second to heat this up until it melts. If you're not familiar with embossing, how you can tell it melts, it gets really bright and shiny. So I usually hold it up to the light to make sure that I get it all. You can see that it's starting to get nice and bright. See how quick that was? I'm done already. So now, as I said, I would hold it up to the light, make sure everything's nice and shiny. I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer and just cut close to the end of each wording. And then I'm going to glue that flat. And that's going to go right here. So there's card number 1. I get a lot of layers on it, and look how pretty the colors are together. And then again, the different embossing for the background layer. Okay, let me go ahead and get started or get set up for card number 2. I'm going to bring this in. Now, card number 2 is going to be a card fold. And I do have a picture of the pattern. This is called a pull-out card fold. And I'll actually take a picture of it and put it on the page for everybody to see if you want to use it. Bring all the pieces in. Now I'm going to show you a card that I made for a team that I'm on. I made that for last month, and I thought it would be a neat card to create with this bundle. So again, this is called a pull-out card fold. This was the one I created with the To the Moon stamp set, and it opens this way. See how neat that is? So when you sit it, you can see the 2 Z folds on the inside. But this is called a pull-out card fold, and I'm going to create a different card using this bundle. So look how cute that is. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, I have the wood grain designer paper, and again the measurements right here, 4 inches by 9 3/4. This is half of a card base, so it's 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then I have all of these little scraps, and I've gone ahead and cut some of the items already. So there's my baseball hat in basic black. I've got the star from the Stitch Stars, and it would be star number 3. So you've got 1, 2, and 3, the third one in. I've gone ahead and cut out the little stars. And that's from the bundle. You get the little star with the bundle. 3 of those. This is Bermuda Bay. We've got basic white for stamping. We've got the Bermuda Bay for this layer. You know what? I just put that die aside. I hope I can find it. Oh, yeah, right here. I'm gonna need that for this card too. And then I have 2 pieces of basic white that go on the inside right here. And those both measure 2 inches by 2 1/4. So 2 of those. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to go to do the scoring and the cutting for this pattern. Okay, so there is a slit right there in the middle. And what we're going to do for that I should have drawn a black line there. We're going to line it up at 1.5 right here. So I'm going to put that at 1.5 on my paper trimmer. And what we want to do is start cutting at 3 inches and end at 7.5. You can see here that it's right in the center at 3 to 7.5. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer. Again, we're going to place this at 1.5. And then I'm going to find the 3-inch mark. I'm going to have to stand up. Now, one little tip for you guys that I don't know if I've ever mentioned before. In order for me to see my numbers clear, I added a piece of cardstock to the back where the measurements are. It just makes it easier for me to see my numbers. Okay, so I've got this lined up at 3, and I'm going to cut to 7.5. Okay, 7.5. Now we need to do the scoring. So I'm going to turn my paper this way. Now make sure you pay attention when you're scoring. The first one is going to be 3 up to the cut line. The second one all the way down. The third one is at the cut line down. So cut line up, cut line down. And we're going to put that at 3. Oh, I almost used my cutter. Okay, there's my first one. The next one is at 5.25. I almost goofed with my cutting blade. And the last one is at 7.5. But again, we're going to start at the cut line and go down. And that's it. Look how quick that was. Let me see if I can show that in the camera. There's my first one up to the cut line. This one goes all the way down through both pieces. The third one is from the cut line down. So now we have to fold this. I'm going to open this one up so you guys can see it. So this one is going to fold this way. The other one's going to fold behind it. And the other one's going to fold to the front. Very easy. Okay, look how easy that was. Now, the only stamping I have on the background is the sentiment's going to go down here. So I'm going to do that first. And I'm going to do the stars last. Okay, so that's going to go on this section here, in the first section. And I'm stamping right on the designer paper. And let me see. I got to find my star. Okay, here's my star. Now let's go ahead and start assembling the card. So what you're going to do first is glue it to the card base. When you do that, you're going to add glue just to this section right here. So I'm going to flip this over. And I'm going to look for my score lines. Okay, this one scores right here, so you don't want to add glue further than that. I'm just going to add a little bit in the center also. Now I'm going to fold this over so I can center this correctly. And there's how you glue that. Very easy. Next step, we're going to do the inside of the 2 white pieces. So this one I left blank, so that you could add a sentiment of your own or do your handwriting, your little message. That's going to go on this side of the score line. This one I added the little sentiment that says, "I'm your fan." And then I added a couple stars. Okay, that's it on that one. So we're going to glue that in place. And that's going to go in between both score lines. Now we're going to do the front. So the star goes first. Now, I think I forgot to mention, this is Daffodil Delight. I'm going to kind of put it at an angle so the corner is up that way. Then I'm going to add the hat. Now the same with the hat. You don't want to add glue to this half because then it's going to stick to the card and you won't be able to open it. So I'm just going to add dimensionals to the base of the hat and then on that half. And then all we have left to do is the little labels on the front. Okay, this is going to go like that. Again, there's no glue on the back, so it didn't stick to the back part. Now let me bring my die cutting machine back in. And I'm going to use the same label that I used on the first card. So again, I'm going to use the washi tape to hold this one in place. And then this one, I'm going to center with a little edge around, a little spacing around. Okay, let me turn that. So there's my cute little label shape with the little stitching. Okay, we're going to use the Big Shot one more time. Now this time I'm using Old Olive. And I'm going to show you a little tip. Now where's I got to find it. Okay, I got to clean this out. I'm going to show you a little tip because if you'll notice when you look at the image that I stamped, I have two colors there. The best way to do that, and let me get a piece of scrap paper. I'm going to be using a blender pen and I'm using the basic gray marker, Stampin' Wrap marker. I'm going to ink this with the Old Olive ink. I'm going to actually take the blender pen. I'm going to wipe away from the mountain. I'm just going to erase that ink because I did not want my mountain to be Old Olive. Okay, so you can see there's no more ink on the mountain. That's where the basic gray comes in. And I'm going to color that with the marker. So that's how you do when you want more than one color on your image. Use markers. Okay, see? I now have two colors. But I also want to add some more color to this. So I have my watercolor pencils. This is probably Coastal Cabana and the basic gray. I'm just going to color on my scrap. I'm just going to make a color palette. And make sure my blender pen is clean. I'm going to pick up some of this. And I'm going to add that just around the mountains to add a little bit of sky. And you'll notice I'm doing very, very little color. I'm just grabbing just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to clean my blender pen. I'm going to do the same thing with the basic gray. And I'm just going to tap some color. Very subtle coloring. I didn't want a lot of color on that. Let me see if I can bring that up closer so you guys can see the coloring. Okay. So that's how you add multiple colors when you're doing your stamping with one color and you want to add a second color. Okay, now let me see. Where's my washi tape? Right here. So one more cut. I'm going to place this on here. There, I think I got it. It's so hard to see with the camera in front of my face. Hopefully I get that straight. A little crooked, but we'll use it anyway. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and glue that on the hat, or actually on the label first. Center that on the label and then glue this Bermuda Bay label to the hat. Again, I'm watching my two corners to make sure they're centered. And then I'm going to glue my 3 stars. And I will draw a name tomorrow for somebody to win all 3 of these cards. Or two, no, not 3, 2. 2 cards. Okay, I'm just adding those there. And then I'm going to take the little star image. Whoops. I'm going to take the little star image and stamp a few black ones around that. I love stamping on designer paper when it's light enough so that you can see what you're stamping. I'm just kind of following the same pattern I had on my original card. Okay, so there's card number 2. And again, that's called the pull-out card fold, and I will put this on our page for you guys to see. So that's card number 2. So let me bring in, there's the open version, and then the 2 first cards that I did with my embossing. So that's it for today, everyone. I hope to see you again next week. And thanks for joining in with me. I was a little rusty, but I'll get back into the swing of things. Thanks, everyone that sent me cards and messages and gifts. I appreciate everything that you've done for me. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye, everyone.